problems. There are predictions of worsening of a myopic epidemic worldwide. So this problem is worldwide. It is not just limited to India or our state. This is a myopic epidemic, and it is estimated that over 50% of the total world's population will be having myopia by 2050. So by 2050, 50% of the world population is predicted to have myopia. So the problem which we think is much bigger than what we know till now. According to the American Optometric Association, as little as only 2 hours of continuous use per day is enough to bring about the development of eye-related problems. Not only visual system, but it also affects the musculoskeletal system and the circadian rhythm disturbances, that is the sleep disturbances. So the bouquet of this, that is digital eye strain, musculoskeletal pain, and circadian rhythm disturbances together is what we call as computer vision syndrome, or synonymously digital eye strain. So what exactly is the effect of lockdown on these? So basically a study was done in students following this lockdown period, and it showed that among the students, there is an average increase in the screen time by 5 hours per day, which total comes to 9 hours per day. So nowadays students are using computer, laptop, iPads, whatever digital media, approximately 9 hours per day. Students also suffered from sleep pattern disturbances in 67%. So in 67% students were prevented them from going to sleep at their optimal time. This is the chart comparing the pre-lockdown and post-lockdown exposure to the digital device. So in each and every cohort, maybe it students, medical professionals, working professionals, housewife, retired individual, anyone in each and every cohort, there is significant increase in exposure to the screen time post-lockdown. So this chart shows that more than 50% of the population uses the screen more than 6 to 8 hours. And out of them, 32% are using screen for 9 to 12 hours. That is almost half a day. So what are the effects of these excessive screen time on the children's eye? So on an average, as we have discussed earlier, between the age 8 to 18 years, students are indulged in screen time more than 10 hours per day between school, online studies, their projects, their homework, the use of smart devices, and their entertainment. So everything, including it, becomes more than 9 to 10 hours per day. This has also been linked to social stunting and health related issues due to lack of outdoor activities. A study has demonstrated that preschoolers with more than 1 to 2 hours of screen time, only 1 to 2 hours of screen time, have an eightfold increase, that is 8 time increase in ADHD, that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. So it is more dangerous for preschoolers than between 8 to 18 years. So even among the ophthalmological point of view, besides myopic progression, accommodative dysfunction in children is also on the rise due to this digital device use. So coming to pathophysiology of each and every component of the digital eye strain. So we will discuss about evaporative dry eye, asthenopia, circadian rhythm, and musculoskeletal pains. So first discussing about the evaporative dry eye. So basically whenever anyone use any digital device, there is decreased blink rate. So due to this decrease in blink rate, there will be inefficient mechanical stimulation of meibomian gland. Now, for those, meibomian glands are the gland which secrete the lipid, and lipid is a very important component of a tear film which covers the cornea. So this will lead to inadequate lipid layer. On the other hand, while using computers, the gaze is generally higher. That is, it will lead to increase in a palpebral fissure. Now, as the palpebral fissure height increases, there is incomplete blinking, there will be faster evaporation, there will be failure to distribute the tear film properly. This will lead to unstable tear film. So, an unstable tear film along with an inadequate lipid layer is what causes evaporative dry eye. So asthenosopia, coming to asthenosopia, this is the most neglected and the most important part of digital eye strain. So basically what causes asthenosopia is due to the constant near work for extensive period, almost 6 to 8 hours of constant near work leads to constant eye state in accommodation and convergence. So there is fluidity of the visual motor system is totally fatigued and this will lead to asthenosopia, asthenopic symptoms, for example, headache, and that we will discuss later. Coming to the blue light, now blue light, this has been postulated. It has not been proved yet, but it is definitely postulated that blue light emitted from these devices affects the secretion of melatonin. Now, melatonin is secreted by the melanocytes in the pineal gland, which is responsible for the circadian rhythm. So, as it affects the secretion of this melatonin, it leads to sleep disturbances. The other thing which is most neglected is the improper posture. Child can have any posture, can take any posture while using the screen, but this posture for an extensive period will lead to musculoskeletal problems. Like it will lead to their neck pain, their spinal ache, and everything. Now, coming to clinical features. Till now, we have seen what are the components. Now, we will see what are the clinical features, how they will present. So, discussing first about the dry eye. Dry eye component, the patient will complain of grittiness in the eye, foreign body sensation, burning, itching. There is a glare, that is increased sensitivity to light, also called as photophobia. They are not, kids are not able to see in very lighted room or they are not able to see in sunlight. And colored halos. These colored halos are caused due to disparity in the air-tear interference. Now, coming to accommodation dysfunction and convergence insufficiency, this is what leads to asthenosopia. So basically, this asthenopic symptoms include blur vision, double vision. Kids will classically complain of double vision while reading from a book after maybe after 10 minutes or 15 minutes of continuous reading. Headache. Headache is the most common complaint each and every kid will present with. Focusing difficulties, the child will explain you that child will tell you that I am not able to see from the book, I am not able to see from the board, I am not able to read it. Myopia progression, those who are already having myopia, those who are already suffering from myopia, there has been too much of progression in myopia by -2, -3, -4 sometimes. And also acute onset esotropia. Initially, acute onset esotropia was not that common entity, but due to this lockdown, due to the continuous use of digital device, due to the accommodation dysfunction which we are facing continuously, acute onset esotropia is on the rise. Other symptoms include the child will complain of constant sleepiness during reading, loss of concentration. There will be missing of letters or lines while constant reading. They will have to search the letter. They will have to search the line again and again. So these all symptoms are caused by asthenosopia, and these are the most common. These are the most common group of complaint that the child explains to the parents. But this chart shows the prevalence of symptoms of digital eye strain. So even in this, 43%, that is maximum population is complaining of headache. Headache is the most common complaint, followed by eye pain, redness, burning, itching, excessive blinking, blurring of vision, and etc. As we have discussed it earlier. Now, these were the clinical features, how a kid or how a child will come to you, how a child will present to you. as a complaint. He will just come that he is having headache. He will not say that he is using computer for this time. He will not say he is using for mobile for this time. Nowadays, many parents do not know how much the screen time is being used by a child. Child will not tell them the correct time because they know that if I go to doctor, they will tell us to reduce the time. So now kids are also smarter than the parents. So we have to look after them. So coming to treatment, how to treat all this? So this treatment requires a multi-directional approach due to variety of the complaint between the users. Each and every kid will present with different variety of complaints. So when treating a patient, it is important to consider both ocular therapy as well as adjustment on the surrounding and habits in an ergo-ophthalmic approach. This is also known as visual hygiene. While using any computer or any digital device, there has been some specification in those we should use it so that it will reduce the symptoms. Coming to dry eye, so one of the most simple and therapeutic mode of therapy are lubricating eye drops. They will generally relieve the symptoms of the dry eye due to decreased blink rates. They normalize the interblink interval and relieve the ocular discomfort. Studies have suggested that higher viscosity eye drops are more beneficial than balanced salt solution. But obviously, higher viscosity eye drop will have some blurring due to its viscosity. So there may be little blurring, but it is more effective, definitely. So again, coming to accommodation and convergence abnormalities. Many doctors will face this situation that where a child comes and says, I'm not able to see, I'm not able to read. When you examine a child, you will see distance 6-6 vision, near N6 vision. But still the patient will be constantly coming and telling, no, I am not able to see, I am not able to see. Many a times we will see this patient and ignore them. But no, they needs a thorough evaluation. For these, we need dynamic and cycloplegic refraction, the most important, and a very thorough binocular visual field examination. Binocular visual field examination is mostly ignored by many of us, but it is the most important thing nowadays. So on binocular visual field examination, we will have receded NPA and NPC, that is near point of accommodation and near point of convergence. Large near exophorias, there will be lack of accommodation greater than plus 1.25 diopters, and there will be variable retinoscopy values. Whenever we will do dynamic retinoscopy or dynamic retin, in each and every dynamic retinoscopy value will be different. Sometime it will just come as -1, sometime it will come as -7, -8, -6, anything it can come. And once you put the cycloplegic eye drop, it will come to plus 0.25. So it is very variable due to this accommodation component. So vision therapy is the treatment for this. I'm sorry. I generally use this all four charts, that is lens flipper, heart chart, Brock string, and lifesaver card for my patients. It is very effective. I will discuss this one by one. So first we will discuss about lens flipper. So lens flipper is a plus minus 2 diopter flipper, which is used and the target is given at 40 centimeter. A child is asked to read the letters. When the person clearly reads the target, the flipper is flipped. Flip and reflip, ensuring that the text is clear with each of the flip. We'll see it again. We have to flip it only after the child is able to see the text clearly. Repeat this for 1 minute and then the results are recorded in cycles per minute. One most important thing is one should always start with a negative lens because it stimulates the accommodation. The results should be equal in both the eyes, or it may be slightly poorer binocularly. So this is one of the office-based exercises. The second, we will discuss about the Brock string. The Brock string is basically a white string that is 3 to 10 feet long with a 3-5 beads of different color. One end of the Brock string is held at the tip of a nose and the other end is tied at a fixed point. The child is asked to fixate on one of the beads and should focus on it until it sees a pattern. For example, in this, the child is focusing on the yellow bead, so he is able to see this pattern, that is X pattern. So we have to repeat the same thing with green bead or red bead, and we'll be able to see change in the pattern. So now the child is focusing on the red bead, and now we are able to see the inverted V pattern. This has to be repeated again and again, so that it will exercise our convergence muscle. So now they are concentrating on green bead, and then you are able to see a V pattern. So these are the various patterns a child is able to see while doing the exercises. This is very important for convergence muscles. Next is lifesaver cards. Before going to lifesaver card, we should know about what are pencil push-ups. So pencil push-ups are simple home-based exercises. This can be done at home. So basically in this, a child is given a pencil and is asked to hold the pencil 20 inches away in a plane of an eye. The child is supposed to look and concentrate only on the tip of the pencil. And slowly the pencil is brought towards them till it touches the nose. Yes. Two things we have to remember, that the tip should be in a plane of an eye and it should come near the nose. So this is repeated for 5 times each, and this has to be done for 5 minutes each, for 3 times a day. Basically, this is responsible to increase the positive fusional versions. Positive fusional versions is the main component of convergence dysfunction. Once the positive fusional versions is normal or is increased, all the asthenopic symptoms due to convergence insufficiency will be treated. The patient having headaches or the patient having double vision, blur vision will be treated by a simple exercise known as pencil push-up. It can be done at home. The other thing which come next to pencil push-ups are convergent card. So we have many cards available. So first, most commonly used card is lifesaver card. In this, the child is asked to do the pencil push-up, the same pencil push-up what we did previously, but this time it will be with the help of a card. So basically you have to focus on the point. Again, the procedure will be same. You have to focus on the point and then you have to tell the child to bring the tip of the pen towards you, and then focusing on the point in background, you will be able to see some circles like this. While you focus on the point, you will see in background these circles. Initially, they will be separated as 4 and the middle 2 will fuse to form 3. Now this third is very important and it is actually difficult. When you do it, it is difficult to bring this third one, and you're supposed to maintain this third circle for at least 10 to 20 seconds. And second thing, you have to read in between this. These letters, that is clear, these letters should be clear in the third circle. One thing should be understood, that these two circles are on the paper while this third circle is virtual, which can be seen only by the patient or which can be seen only by the person who is performing the exercises. It is not on the card itself. So basically we have to repeat this procedure 3 times for each of the steps. As I said, there is other cards also. So there are other cards. See, lifesaver card will have transparent variant, opaque variant. There are eccentric circle, Mickey charts, Dora charts. There are cat charts, colored eccentric, black and white eccentric. Many charts are available. We can use any one of them depending upon the amplitude of the convergence insufficient the person is having. So now coming to heart chart. So till now, the Brockstring and lifesaver card were used for the convergence insufficiency component, while the lens flipper and heart chart are used for the accommodation dysfunction type. So in lens flipper, we have seen how the accommodation will act. First, we have to use the negative lens and then we have to flip it with the positive lens. There will be alternate positive and negative lens. This will lead to relaxation, alternate relaxation and stimulation of the accommodation. Similar principle is used in heart chart. Heart chart is nothing but a pair of similar charts. One is placed at 6 meter distance and the other is held at 40 centimeter. The child is supposed to read the letters. The child is supposed to read the letters in a line. First, it should be clear. It should be near chart first, and then once it is clear, the child is asked to focus the same on the distance chart. This process has to be done alternately with near and distance chart, and this process has to be repeated with either of the eye. So this is a uniocular exercise you have to do. First start with one eye, alternate it. First occlude one eye, either of the eye, either right eye or left eye. Ask the child to read the near card. Once it is clear, ask the child to focus on the distance card. Once it is clear, again ask the child to focus on the near chart. So this you have to repeat it for at least 10 minutes and then you have to shift it for the other eye. And similar process will be repeated for the other eye. So basically this will increase what is known as accommodative infacility. Accommodative facility once is increased, the defocusing problem is solved. So when a child will come and complain you of I am not able to focus on a point or I am not able to focus at near or I am not able to change my focus, many times child will properly complain you significantly that I am not able to read from the book, and once I am able to read from the book, I am not able to see from the board. So it is not something he is lying, he is actually telling the truth. This is called as accommodative infacility. So in this case, patient is not able to change the focus as frequently as a normal person can. So this heart chart will be helpful for these patients because once you do this, there will be alternate stimulation of accommodation, stimulation and relaxation, stimulation and relaxation. So basically, this will exercise it and it will increase your accommodative infacility. Besides the refractive correction and routine ophthalmic evaluation, there are certain eye exercises which are prescribed by some people. These are like up and down, looking side to side, nose to thumb, eye shifting, eye tracking, flashlight following, etc. These are just postulated and given to patients. There are no studies evaluating that these are effective or not. Definitely, outdoor activities promote the natural movement of eye, hand-eye coordination, and depth perception. It will increase the depth perception of the child. It will promote the overall development of the visual system. Outdoor activities has been playing a very significant role in reducing myopic progression and in reducing the development of myopia. Nowadays, it has been postulated to some extent, it has been proved and it has been suggested that any child of any age should spend minimum of 1 to 2 hours outdoor doing any outdoor activity. So basically when you are outdoor, when your child is in outdoor, the distant vision is stimulated and the near vision is relaxed. So this is the time when your accommodation is at relaxed and the distant vision is stimulated. So basically your myopic progression will be less. Of course, better than treatment is to prevent it. So as we know that prevention is better than cure, so we will see how we can prevent this from happening. So digital eye strain, also called as computer vision syndrome, is a classic example of preventable, totally preventable lifestyle-induced health issue. Measures to curb the symptoms are the need of the hour. Today, we need this. And a variety of the measures can be taken by an individual to limit the impact of it on the visual system. So basically, the most important is voluntary blinking of the eye. Humans normally blink 15 times in 1 minute, but study shows that whenever we are using some sort of digital media, we will blink 5 to 7 times. So it is much lesser than what we are supposed to blink. So basically, as we have seen earlier, that this decrease in blink will lead to evaporative dry eye. Therefore, it is very necessary to voluntarily remember to blink at certain interval. And even in blinking, it has been said that forceful blinking is more important than just a normal blink. Because when there is forceful blinking, it will squeeze the meibomian gland, and as the meibomian gland are squeezed, it will secrete the lipids, and lipid layer of the tear film will be stable. Once the lipid layer of the tear film is stable, the evaporative component of the dry eye is eliminated. So this is the most easiest and the most important thing to do, that is voluntarily blink. Second most important thing is 20-20 rule. This is very, very, very important. This single step can reduce all your symptoms, all your variety of symptoms responsible for digital eye strain. This 20-20 rule basically states that every 20 minutes of time, that is every 20 minutes of your continuous digital use, you should take a break of 20 seconds, and you should look at anything. You should read or you should look at an object which is at least 20 feet or 6 meters away from you for 20 seconds. So what is this 20-20 rule? 20-20 rule is every 20 minutes, take a break of 20 seconds. And for this 20 seconds, you are supposed to look at a 20 feet away object. This is very necessary to relax the converging and the accommodating muscles which are in action with your continuous use of it. So this only, if you follow this only rule, you will be able to eliminate all the symptoms of the computer vision syndrome. Second most ignored thing is adjustment of position of the computer. So a computer should be, the computer screen should be 25 inches away. That is about the 1 arm length from your eyes. Second thing, it should be 4 to 5 inches below the eye level. So when the screen is 4 to 5 inches below the eye level, it ensures that most of the globe is covered by or protected by your eyelid itself, and only small inferior portion is exposed to environmental drying forces. So once this inferior small portion is exposed, it will automatically reduce the symptoms of dry eye. So these are the recommendations given by American Academy of Ophthalmology. They have suggested some, they have given some suggestions. So we'll just go through it quickly. So first is ideal posture. As we have seen earlier, the posture should be ideal. It is 25 inches away and 4 to 5 inches down. Second most important thing is brightness and contrast should be adjusted to a comfortable level. See, when you see a screen, if the brightness and contrast or brightness of the screen is much more, or even the brightness of the surrounding is much more, then your eyes will automatically have some strain and have to work more harder than as compared to the normal comfortable level. So they will go in strain earlier. So it is better to have controlled brightness and contrast settings of your LED screens. So 20-20 rule we have looked it off. So basically it is the 20 minutes, after 20 minutes break of 20 seconds and look for at an object of 20 feet away. So second most important, dryness should be prevented by frequent use of artificial tears. Yes, artificial tear installation is very important. As we have seen earlier, it will help in elimination of a dry eye component. It will regularize your tear film. It will regularize the inadequate lipid layer which you have which have resulted due to decreased blink rate. Children should be reminded to blink frequently. Parents have to remind the children. In general, when parents use the screen, they also don't blink it frequently. So children, you have been observing that the children, while viewing the screen or using any digital media, they will not blink at all. So you have to remind them to blink forcefully. You have to remind them frequently that you have to blink. Second is glasses. This is only for contact lens wearers who use contact lens. For these people, glasses are more preferred than contact lens to prevent the dry eye component. This one most important thing is to use of electronic devices before bed should be eliminated. Electronic devices emits the blue light. As we have seen before, as we have gone through the pathophysiology, that this blue light is responsible for disturbances in circadian rhythm. So it will cause your sleep disturbances. So it is better if you don't use it before bedtime or at least 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. You should not use it immediately before the bedtime or it will lead to disturbed sleep. Second thing, nowadays mobile will have that nighttime settings which will block the blue rays. You can use it alternatively, no problem. So this is the most important slide. These are the directives given by American Academy of Ophthalmology and World Health Organization for the maximum screen time for children. That is, a children of this age should use this much screen time only. So for under 18 month of child, there is no screen time allowed by this academies. Absolute no screen time under 18 months. That is 1.5 years. Between 18 to 24 months, there will be minimal viewing or limited solo use. This minimal viewing is included the video calls and all nowadays everyone is doing. That is allowed, but for some time and not for continuous period, obviously with some breaks. In preschoolers, that is 3 to 5 years, only less than 1 hour per day is allowed. Amongst the preschoolers are the most sensitive cohort, so we have to look around them very carefully. Only less than 1 hour is officially allowed or is given them, that less than 1 hour won't affect them. More than 1 hour will definitely affect the preschoolers. For 6 to 10 years also it is only just 1 to 1.5 hour per day which is allowed. In middle school, that is 11 to 13 years, it is up to 2 hours per day. So basically in children, more than 2 hours per day is not allowed for screen time. And nowadays, as we have been seen before, or as we have seen in the previous slides, that nowadays children are using screen for more than 9 hours, which is much more than what they are allowed to do. So definitely we will expect some problems with them. They will develop some abnormalities due to this. So these are very important guidelines. So recommendation for parents on monitoring the digital screen uses during the lockdown, how parents can help their children during the lockdown. These are few suggestions given. See, the most important thing and the most basic thing is that media should be used in line of family values. There should be avoiding of fast-paced programs with distracting or violent content. Encouraging the educational or creative pursuits on the screen is useful. Nowadays, you will have many educational activities on the screens. It is important to use them as an entertainment source rather than using any other violent content or any distractions. Second thing, most importantly, is determining the screen-free zones and time. So you have to decide some timings or some slot of time which you will know that no screen time is allowed for this. So for example, during meals, when you have lunch, when you have dinner, when you have breakfast, no screen time should be allowed. Switching off the devices 2 hours before the bedtime, as we have discussed it earlier. Outdoor use can be limited by packing a bag with small toys or crayons or any paper or any books to distract the child. Rather than giving a mobile in their hand for outdoor activities, it is better that they play with something. Third important is maintaining the balance and ensuring that the child is having enough sleep and exercise. Sleep is a very important component in growth of a child. So for child, sleep is very important. You have to maintain a balance between sleep and exercise. You have to send them for outdoor activities. Maybe this lockdown you have not sent, it was limited, but at least indoor activities also you can promote. Need not to be outdoor, but at least indoor activity you should promote, and you should decrease the screen time. It should not affect their sleep. Once the sleep is affected, the overall development of the child will be affected. Create distractions that causes the child to forcefully look up in between. Any distraction you can create. You can tell him a joke, you can show him anything. The main point is that the child should distract from the screen and turn his eyes around up, that is beyond the screen. So this distraction parents are supposed to make in between. First will be ask them, remind them for a reminder to blink it, and then give some distractions so that the child will be distracted from the screen itself. Set a device reminder to remind them to blink every 20 minutes. Maybe it mobile, maybe it anything. Just get a alarm of every 20 minutes and snooze them every 20 minutes, so that every time the alarm will ring, you have to blink and tell them clearly the instructions. Sixth important is avoid using the computer outdoor, as the glare on the screen can create strain in eyes. As we have discussed before, that the brightness and the contrast is very important. The balance between them is very important, because in outdoor there will be much of brightness outdoor as compared to your screen. So your eyes have to work 2 or 3 times more than it has to be done in indoors. So it is better to avoid them the use in the outdoor thing. You can have it in indoor, but avoid it in outdoor. That is during the games or during the your visits in outdoor. You have to completely avoid it. Finally, this is a very nice concept given by a very renowned ophthalmologist. If you run too far, your legs will start hurting and you stop. Likewise, if you have been reading, if you have been watching too long, your eyes also starts hurting. Even eyes have the similar muscles, though small, but they also have similar muscles. They also start hurting. This is the time you should stop. And don't ignore this. You should stop when your eyes starts hurting. So, to conclude, digital screens have crept into our lives as an integral necessity. It is an integral necessity. No one can delete a digital screen use from their lives, especially in these lockdown periods. Online classes, CMEs, meetings, media communication, work from home are the thread of communication which will link us and keep us well informed about the surrounding, about the nation, about the international surrounding worldwide. Whatever is happening in nation, whatever happening in outside world, we should know. And for this, we need a use of digital device. This is known fact. So we cannot delete it completely. But since it is unavoidable commodity, one has to set limit. You have to set limit for your uses. You cannot use it for your media communication and online and entertainment also. At least you have to delete the entertainment side from them. And whenever you use them, you have to use all the recommendations given before, so that at least it will reduce it, and if possible it can eliminate your symptoms. So practice the safety measures for a more comfortable and healthy existence and a long-term association with digital screens. We have been associated with the digital screens earlier also, but nowadays after post lockdown, it has been dependence on the digital screen which we are facing. It is not just the use, it is the dependence which we have on them. This has to be reduced. Promote good eye health in a young population is the need of the hour. we all accept this, that in young population they are very much attracted to the use of digital devices, but we have to control them. We have to set some restrictions to them. Otherwise, this will lead to damage visual system. This will lead to damage in the musculoskeletal system and overall growth of a child. Even in mental disorders, this has been postulated that digital screen use has been affected a uh, uh, child's mental health also. So many mental illnesses are also arising due to digital use or excessive digital use rather. So these are my references, and thank you. Thanks for listening.
Thank you,
Yes.
ma'am, for your
Any
nice
questions, sir?
presentation. Yes, ma'am. We have one question from our attendees. That is, glasses available in market as anti-blue rays protection glasses. Are they safe to
Yeah.
buy for kids and adult also?
See, they are postulated that they prevent, but according to American Academy of Ophthalmology, they have told that it has not been proved yet. Definitely, it is not harmful, so we can use it. It will be useful, but it doesn't affect, like, it is not the only treatment available. It will not decrease